Hello, this is your devotionals with Andrew Gila. Once again, we are on this episode and the journey we are taking across the Bible in learning about our father of faith, Abraham. I'm so excited to come to you again to share these things with you. Last time we did some introduction on Abraham, and one of the areas that I touched on was when he left Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of promise, and the statements in chapter 12 and chapter 11, like I said last time, seem to show that Terah was the one who left with the family. If you go to Acts chapter 7, Acts 7, Acts 7 2, as Stephen was giving his address before he was stoned, he says, and he said, brethren and fathers, listen, the God of glory appeared to our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Haran, and said to him, get out of your country and from your relatives and come to the land that I will show you. Then he came out of the land of Chaldeans and dwelt in Haran, and from there, when his father was dead, he moved him to this land in which you now dwell. So it is in order to say that Abraham had an influence on Terah, his father, to move. He influenced the journey because it is God who called him. The calling, like I said in our last segment, the calling is a deep-seated conviction in a person's heart about a particular purpose that God would like you to accomplish. And many of us fail because we do not sense that calling, or we expect, like I said, some serious dramatic things happening so that you may be able to act. But in simple ways, you need to hear and sense God's calling. Everyone listening to me, like I said, you've been called by God. So Abraham influences this journey, and Stephen confirms it. Why study so much about Abraham? If you go to Galatians 3:29, the Bible says, if you are Christ's, you are Abraham's seed and heirs of the promise. That means the believer's faith is patterned after the faith of our father Abraham. We'll be taking time to look at these things in the book of Romans chapter 4. And you will see more clearly how our faith is so directly related to Abraham, our father. And the nature, the journey he took, his mindset, his inclination of faith, his readiness, childlike agreement with God, cooperation with God, tells you of a heart that is prepared to go God's way, not the human way, not the world's way, not the way every other thing goes. But Abraham had this inclination that easily would obey God. He had this relationship in his heart that he knew God can never fail him. We see it when God asks him to sacrifice Isaac way later. These things we will talk about in coming episodes. So it's easy for Abraham to release his son, not because releasing a son is easy, but because the God who has called him has proved to be faithful, trustworthy, and is a God he would reach out to at any time easily. The struggles of our lives are because of our difficulty in easily cooperating, easily flowing with God. This study is to cause our faith to be ignited to the level where it's very easy to go God's way. If you never act on the convictions that God gives you, like he gave it to Abraham in Ur of the Chaldeans, there was no worship of God. How did Abraham learn? I will be talking to you about some historical facts about how Abraham begins his faith, his relationship with his father Terah, and a special person called Nimrod, who is believed to have been the orchestrator of the building of the Tower of Babel. Rejection, outright rejection of the way of God. But Abraham comes in as a different person who, as Nimrod, Terah, worship other gods and engrossed in that kind of lifestyle. Because of the calling of God, Abraham is a different person. And that's why today, Abraham becomes a key person in a believer's life. As we study about Abraham, you will have this learning to do, to know that your heart, the touch of God in your life, the call of God in your life, and the caller himself, that is more important than the dreams you have and the destinations you want to go. Because if you walk right with him who has called you, you will find yourself at your destination. If you concentrate with the destination and you do not concentrate with the walk, or with the walk between you and he who has called you, you're not sure of your destination. So the walk with God is more important than the destination, because the destination is assured. This is true with Abraham. He walked with God. He trusted God. He believed God. Even when things were difficult, things did not look like it. He believed God is bigger than my experience. We are aware that it took him years for him to get the promised son. But yet, he believed God, stayed in faith in God. And even when the son finally came, God required the son from him. He was willing and ready to release the son again. Why? The son was not more important than his faith in God. That's what we are talking about. That's what we are challenging ourselves on, to build a life that is rooted more in our relationship with God than the dreams we have, because his dreams become our dreams and we are able to get there. So as we continue to study this, I challenge you to read chapter 11 and chapter 12, and you read chapter 4 of the book of Romans, which I'm going to get into in our next episode, so that we may begin to see the relationship of Abraham's faith with our faith, even as we also relate his real journey, like I said last time, his real journey from Ur all the way to Haran, and then we'll connect with his journey down to Shechem, where he settled in the land of promise. Thank you so much for listening to this. I hope to see you again in our next episode.